Let's take a look at the Insta360 X5 that recently came out. Take it out for a spin and see, is it a good camera for cyclists to go out with? I'm meeting up with my buddy Sean, who has just rounded the corner right there. You'll see right as I'm pulling up to him, one of the positives of this camera is I set the deep track on him, and then as I get closer, you'll see the camera just kind of follows him. Give a little fist bump, and we do the transition. Now, those transitions, while they are kind of cool, I have a feeling that it's kind of one of those things that is going to pass, and eventually I'll start using regular cuts or just fade to black. In fact, that's the only special transition that I do in this video. As we start rounding these light curves, the first difference that you're going to notice between using a regular action camera and a 360 camera is that your footage, assuming you have your flow stabilization on, is going to be completely level, and you pretty much need that flow stabilization, otherwise it's going to really be jumpy and bumpy all over the place. So unfortunately, if you like going around curves and corners and seeing a little bit of that horizon tilting one direction or the other, you are not going to get that with the 360 unless you do that manually. And that kind of leads me into the next part, which is, do I like the X5 or really any 360 camera for the most part for cycling? I think it's kind of cool to be able to do some things, but having it mounted under my handlebars as just a regular action camera where I occasionally pan left or right, I don't actually know that it is worth it. So you can do really cool things like this. Look here, I'm going to go past Baha'i Temple, and I want to kind of take a longer look at it and say, like, normally would just be going out of frame on the side, but here, kind of get a longer view. All I did was select the deep track on there, and it automatically follows it. Now, what I'm going to do is turn that back off, set a keyframe to point back forward, and then I'll track in on this rider one more time that I'm passing. So as I'm continuing, I'm now using keyframes to kind of go around the corner. And if you want to go that route, this is where you can have a little bit of tilt built in. But one thing to keep in mind is that you may be going for a while and simply forget to set it around one of the curves. So this curve that's taking a left up here, initially during my edit, I forgot. I took a look at the footage and I saw that, it continues to point forward just as it is here. And so that's stuff like that I would have to correct. It really just adds to my workflow. But again, here's a cool car up ahead. I do the tracking on it, and when the car gets closer, no matter where it's going to take a close look. I think it's Lamborghini, I believe. And then it follows it away, and then I set the keyframe. I do know that you can use the direction lock again, but the thing is, when you are going around a corner, I like for the horizon to tilt a little bit. So if you do that, you can't use the direction lock because it's really going to keep everything completely level. So I turn that off, and then I simply rotate the angle a little bit. Or maybe I can keep the direction lock on but change the angle. I'm actually not super familiar with the editing process yet. I'm also learning the Insta360 Studio software. And the reason for that is because when I have my Ace Pro, I simply download the footage from the camera. I load it into, there's like a Garmin tool that lets me overlay my analytics over it. And then it's as simple as that. If I'm going to do a voiceover, then I put it into DaVinci as I am now. But this will require me to do an extra step. I will always have to take my 360 footage, load it into Insta Studio, and then I can overlay my analytics over it, and so on and so on. Here around this curve, you can see that the horizon did tilt as I was rounding the corner, and that again was manual. So I used keyframes there. I set the angle to whatever number of degrees, and that's how I got it to go there. I like that look a little bit better. And I think there is a time and a place for completely stable footage. I think it's interesting to throw in from time to time. However, the bulk of the time I want to see those lean angles just as we did now. In fact, as cyclists, motorcyclists, you get into the sports, and that's kind of the cool thing about it. Here we are past our halfway point. Actually, I way fast forwarded. We're stopping at Madame ZuZu's, which is owned by Billy Corrigan of the Smashing Pumpkins, kind of a cool little coffee shop. It is all vegan, so you can get a latte, but with some oat milk. It's kind of eclectic on the inside. Now, I didn't think to actually pull my 360 camera off the bike, so this is just some cell phone footage. But I do think it's a very cool place. If you're ever in Highland Park, they've got a little self-playing piano there that is your music. And yeah, you can stop in for a great cup of coffee and some other things. So because I forgot the Insta360 footage, I decided the next morning to go ahead and just show you some footage of the 360 with ambient light of me making my own latte in the morning. And there's going to be some terrible latte art at the end, but I wasn't about to redo it. It was still delicious. So performs pretty well, I would say, in low light. I have no other lights on here. This is just whatever's kind of bouncing in through our kitchen patio. And I've got to say that for the footage being what it is in such a small camera, it is relatively versatile. So not bad at all. And again, all of the settings that I used on the camera were essentially the defaults. This was recorded at 4K. And I wanted to just see how to look at cinematics. Yeah, look at that terrible latte heart. But how it would look, so it's 4K, 24 FPS, and I have the exposure set to 0. I just simply wanted to see how the camera performs with no additional settings. In fact, HDR is off as well. And I do think that it does look a little bit overexposed, and I can see it adjusting a little bit in exposure, kind of going light and dark between them. I might be a little bit more sensitive to it. I do photography, and so I stare at photos constantly throughout the course of the day. But overall, it's not bad. I do think that about a third of a stop down would be better going forward. So I did adjust my exposure to be minus 0.3, and I pretty much leave it at that. I'd rather have it a little bit dark than a little bit light. And again, no color grading or adjustment of the levels was done on this footage. I just wanted to see what it would look like straight off camera. And the reality is that I think many folks simply want to record something, get it maybe clipped together quickly, and then go back from there. Here again is Sean. I turned the camera, deep tracked on him now. As soon as he started passing me, first I used a keyframe to turn to the right slowly, and then as he passed me, I tracked him, which is kind of cool because if I go left or right a little bit, like here I am a little bit to the right, and you can see it kind of like turns and points at him. So stuff like that is kind of cool, or especially if you want to record yourself and put the camera on someone else. I played it a little bit with the zoom. Here you see me zoom out. We're going to go through some traffic here in just a little bit, and I'll zoom back in. So overall, neat things you can do with the camera. Do I like it? Yes. Is it something that is worth replacing my Ace Pro for most rides that I want to record? I don't think so. I think that the reality is that your regular, straightforward action camera is good. Where I think this camera shines, and I did get some footage of it, is I did a race. Well, the race was canceled, but we went to ride the Red Rock race in Vegas. And I think it would be neat to have the 360 kind of on a selfie stick tucked away in your back pocket. You can pull it out, occasionally get some footage if it's safe enough and you're going at a good enough pace and you feel comfortable, to get some casual footage to add in. But is it a great main camera? I don't think so. I don't think it's a good cycling camera, because the things that you can do with it, such as recording your face or have it on a selfie stick sticking out in front of you, that's not sort of a look or ride that I want to go for. I don't mind it in this configuration, but this is probably the weakest one. Some guys put it on the back and they kind of get the drone shot. Some guys put on a long selfie stick out in front of them, and I think that also gets you neat shots, but I just don't want to ride like that. My setup, in case you want to try and replicate it, NorCal Cycling actually has the setup. He goes over it, and I pretty much followed his exact formula. I just simply looked at the parts that he had listed and picked up those parts, and that was pretty much it, and then just mounted it. So yeah, this is now nearing the end of our ride. Believe it or not, we were out there for like 40 miles. Now we are kind of on the loop back from Madame ZuZu's. You'll see as I'm coming up on the Baha'i Temple again, and at some point I tried to do the tracking here, but it didn't work so well through the trees. It did it, but Right as I cross these last set of trees, you'll see it start to track the high one more time. And again, stuff like this I think is wonderful. Like this shot is great. I think very cinematic, but is it worth it having the camera on the bike the entire time and then going through and editing? I don't think so. I think that if you want a project in terms of editing, then this is the camera for you. But if you want something that's a little bit faster, you just want to pull footage that you're looking for, the reality is that a regular action camera will do it for you. That's all I've got here. If you have additional comments, thoughts, feel free to leave them for me. If there's something that I left out, I am happy to test it in the future. Thanks again for watching.